James Conole from the other side of the country. How are you doing, my friend? Welcome to Bridging the Gap.
Thank you, Matt. I'm excited to be here. Doing great.
That's awesome. Well, you're in. I think it's the San Diego area. They say it's Greater San Diego. I mean, the sunny San Diego. It's probably not as cold as it is here in Atlanta. We're recording this in the wintertime, but you're probably enjoying some sunshine, I assume, huh?
Yeah, we're always enjoying it. I honestly forget the concept of bad weather, and I'll do my fall meetings or spring meetings with clients, and they're in Maine or they're in Montana or they're in wherever they might be, and it's a nice reminder of how good we have it sometimes here in San Diego. And I see that it's not always like this in all parts of the country.
It's not always sunny in Philadelphia, right?
No, it's not.
That's what they say. But I remember that from I went to school in Arizona, and it was kind of like Groundhog's Day. It was like every day is a beautiful day, and you're like, well,
Yeah.
this is. Someone's got to live this lifestyle, so I might as well do it. But now I'm back
Yes.
in Georgia, and we don't have that all the time. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're not meteorologists or weather experts, even though we like to think we are. But I'm stoked to really have this conversation, man. I think what you have done with Root Financial Partners and the firm you founded is super interesting. Y'all have a different and unique approach to financial planning. That's what we're trying to do, is bring in different minds and expose the listeners to new ways of thinking, new ways of pushing forward. And I think that y'all have done a great job. So I'm really excited to talk about that and talk about helping clients find their why and fulfillment and what the future of the industry holds. So I'm really appreciative of you taking the time to join us here on Bridging the Gap. Before we dive into kind of the meat of the content, I like to get to know our guests. And I always like to start with just a simple question. You're a founder of a wealth management firm today. I'm always curious, though. What did the 13-year-old James Conole want to be?
Yeah, I wanted what was 13? I guess that was. Well, I'll tell you what the 12-year-old James wanted to be,
Okay.
which was a second baseman for the San Diego Padres. I think by 13 was when I had already been cut from the freshman baseball team in high school, and so at that point, I think I was on to maybe more realistic aspirations. But I think at the time it was like an architect, something like that. I liked building and the problem solving. So somewhere around 12, 13, there was a shift in what I thought was realistic and some rude awakening to the real world.
So a quick shift from professional baseball player to architect. But I think that a lot of us dreamt to be professional baseball players, and then reality set in. I was right there with you. But
Yeah.
the architect is interesting because architectural mindsets are creative mindsets. They view things differently, right? There's a much it's a different side of the brain that's worked there. And I think it shows in what you've built in Root, right? You've taken a different perspective, a creative perspective of how to deliver wealth management. So tell us the story and the journey from that 12-year-old 13-year-old James Conole to I'm not going to say your age, the founder of Root Financial, James Conole. Tell us that journey of how you got there.
Yeah. So 13-year-old James had his hopes and dreams of being a baseball player crushed and said, okay, maybe architecture. It was never like I'm going to be an architect. It's just, what do I like doing? And I like problem solving. I like critical thinking. I love math and numbers and that stuff. But in high school, I had no idea what I wanted to be. Even in college, really had no idea what I wanted to be. But I was probably leaning towards finance just because I thought that if you're good with numbers and problem solving, that's just a natural career path trajectory for you to pursue. So started exploring the financial thing. I did a bunch of internships, or I was considering a bunch of internships, everything from banking to corporate finance to personal finance to whatever it might be, to being an analyst. And you think, okay, I just want to do finance. Well, finance is so stinking broad. It's like there's not one specific thing you can do with finance. But I remember doing an internship with an independent financial advisor that was nearby where I actually grew up here in San Diego. And as soon as I started the internship, it was pretty clear to me at that point that this is something that's really special, being able to not just crunch numbers for the sake of crunching numbers or dialing in spreadsheets, but being able to do it for a bigger purpose, which is helping someone achieve financial independence, helping someone send kids to college, helping people buy their home, helping people just wrap their mind around what their money can do for them. So at that point, that really got me thinking, okay, this is probably what I want to do for the rest of my life. And that was during an internship in college. Also helped to connect from just some money things I even remember as a kid of, okay, this money is something that is very much integrated with the rest of your life and everything else you have going on. It's not just a separate entity that you think about when you log into your bank account or balance a checkbook or whatever you used to do back then. So at that point, I don't know what it was, maybe 21, I realized this is probably what I want to do for the rest of my life. Started out of college, out of business school with the company that I'd interned for during college. Was there for 6-ish years or so, and that was the start. So, but yeah, back 6 years ago or so, I had been with that company for 6 years. Left that company, started Root in the fall of 2017, and now here we are, 6 years later.
I love that, man. I think that you went on that journey of kind of just figuring out where your purpose was, and you identified that. Now it's interesting because it seems that what took you into the business was this concept of helping people with their money and helping them save and reach goals. Yet when you started to build Root, you actually aren't leading with what got you into the business. You're more leading with a little bit more of the soft skills of identifying their why, their purpose, their meaning. Tell me about, how that transition and focus of how you deliver advice changed when you went from working for someone to working for yourself, and why you wanted to approach it that way.
Mm-hmm. I think there's probably two main factors that contribute to that. One is just growing up. My family had very little to no money. So my dad was a pastor until I was about 8 years old. My mom stayed home and raised 4 children. So just not a lot of money. And it wasn't the fact that there's no money. It's just even as a kid, you could start to realize there's a lot of stress that goes along with this. There's a lot of just things feeling out of control, parents feeling like just stressed out of their minds always. And so I think that introduced me, even without realizing it fully as a kid, to the fact that money is more than just money and can create for more peaceful, confident circumstances, even within a household, or it can lead to a lot of chaos and uncertainty and stress. So there's that side. I will say that the first boss I had at my first firm was just insanely relational. And I just learned a ton by being able to sit in meetings, see how he interacted with people, and just got to absorb that for the first few years of my exposure to this industry. I don't think I'm naturally that way. I'm naturally more of the analytical, let's just get down to business, let's just hammer this thing out and give you a plan. But what I learned in that first position was you need that human connection. Without that human, it's the whole Dr. Seuss quote of people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so how do you really learn to develop that trust and connection and empathy that maybe younger me would have thought kind of a waste of time, let's just move on to the nuts and bolts of this thing, but now realizing that's the foundation of everything that we do.
Yeah, I think that, and I think it's super interesting, and I know that Morgan Housel talks about it in his book, in the sense that, what happens between the ages of really kind of 13 to 21 shapes who you are, and your relationship in many aspects, but mainly with money is how he was alluding to it. And that's kind of what shaped you and shaped this foundation for Root that you started. Now, I want to dive into it because I love how first off, y'all's website is incredible. If any advisor needs to go look about how to make a more modern, engaging website, go check out Roots, because it's a really great website. And on there you have the process, and the process doesn't start with analyzing money. It starts with kind of identifying their why and their purpose. I want to dive into that a little bit and understand, how does that process go? Because I think that there's this challenge with advisors making that, because prospects come to an advisor. If you think about the driver of it tends to be, hey, I have money issues. I'm going to go see a financial advisor because they're money people. And so when I sit down with them, we should be having money conversations. Yet when they sit down with Root, they're having soft conversations. They're going through understanding what their purpose and why is. Talk to me about how y'all do that, and how you ensure that there's less friction in what the expectations are of the clients when they come to talk to you first, And then I want to dive into the process that y'all go through to help people understand their why, because I don't think anybody really truly understands it.
Yeah. Yeah. And most people don't. And even I think myself included, we can all get wrapped up into distractions and noise and forget ROI and forget some of the things we're actually doing. So I think that the core of our process, or the foundation of it, is reframing what money is. I think in the past in this industry, it's kind of been like the money's been the superstar. It's been the center of attention. It's how do we grow your portfolio? How do we increase your net worth? How do we get you in the right investments, which are all obviously very important considerations. But we like to reframe it to more of, no, money, as important as it is just a role player. And you're the superstar, Matt. You're the center of attention. What does Matt actually want? What is it that you are looking to create in terms of successful outcome for retirement or legacy, or what you're able to do on a daily basis with the freedom that you have? So it's really not like we don't have to get super, super deep into your why and let us uncover everything in your deepest, darkest experiences with money from a kid. It's even just reframing it in that way. But I think also a lot of the prospects that are coming to us, they've resonated with that messaging through our digital marketing stuff. So a lot of that is maybe we're just attracting the type of people that are looking for more of the advice that's focused on them as a person and how they can use money for what's actually most important, as opposed to someone that's just going to tell them what stocks or bonds or mutual funds to own.
Yeah, I think that the y'all own what you are, who you are, and that attracts the people that want to be part of that, which makes that kind of frictionless transition of what they're looking for, what they're going to get, easier. And now, what is that process? And I know you say you don't go through kind of their deepest, darkest secrets and how they were as a kid, but from what I took away reviewing the website and learning more about y'all's firm is that there are some tools and strategies that you use, because I assume that people don't come in and you say, well, what's your why or what's your values? And they're like, boom, 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 boom. Like, this is it. It's more surface level and usually materialistic just because of the world that we're in. So how do you walk a client through that process to help them truly understand what their why is without going all the way down into their deepest, darkest secrets and fears and worries and concerns?
Yeah, part of it is meeting them where they are. Like, even, okay, what are your goals? Well, I want to retire and live on 10,000 per month and be able to retire at 65. Like, it can get pretty, I don't want to say basic because those are super important things, but one of the tools that we have, we partnered with a retirement coach, and she had developed this kind of purpose finder worksheet of, hey, when you retire, who are you on a Monday morning? What are you going to be doing? What are the things that you want to be or rediscover about yourself? And even just a simple exercise of having the right questions to ask, or knowing how to direct your energy. Because what's so difficult is, from a young age, it's you go to high school and get good grades so that you can go to college and get good grades, so that you can get a good entry-level job, so that you can get promoted, so that you can buy a home, so that you, and then finally you retire and it's like, so that what? Well, it's kind of blank slate. And that's the scariest part, is there's less external pressure of what you should be doing next, as much as it truly is like a rediscovery phase for a lot of people. And we're not life coaches, or I'm not even going to pretend to say like, hey, we somehow are the Tony Robbins of financial planning, where we're just going to deliver you to this new thing. But we are helping to ask the right questions. And sometimes it's just the questions that stimulate the right types of, I guess, thoughts and where our attention and energy goes in terms of that planning. So it's just even opening that door just a crack into, Matt, what is it that you want to do? Because as an advisor, we're helping you to align your money in a way that supports that. And if we're aligning your money in a way that you think you should be spending it, just because you think that everyone retires and then travels the world and plays a ton of golf, that might like look successful on the output of what we think your goals are. But if your actual goals are nothing like that, and it's more, I don't know, you want to reconnect with children and grandchildren because you haven't been able to see them as much because you've been working so many hours, or you want to reconnect with that 13-year-old you that want to be an architect and want to study something, or you want to reconnect, whatever it is, how do we just almost serve as that backstop or the person that somewhat helps to keep you in check in terms of how are you spending your money, or what do we need to be spending on to make retirement the best season of your life, and not just something that you do and have plenty of money, but feel incredibly aimless and unfulfilled because you don't really know what you want to become. So it's even just little questions allow us to then pursue that, as opposed to just the mechanical, robotic, cookie cutter. Here's your investments. Go have fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of that. I'm a believer of it. That's why this is super interesting to me, and like why I want to continue to dive down into this, because I think that y'all have nailed it in the sense of the approach and what matters, right? And it's understanding, helping your clients understand, why do you want to play golf every day? Like, why? What is it that it drives? What is it that it creates in you? What is the feeling, the happiness, so that we can help to provide? Because we know in reality that may not be able to be happening every single day. Just your body may not be able to do that. Now, and so I think that getting to that point is good. And a lot of people say they do that, but then we all, just like human nature, just revert back to kind of what's easy and normal, which is just reviewing investments and reviewing the portfolio. And so I'm curious on, from the beginning of the relationship, y'all really get deep into understanding what their why is and helping to understand what retirement means. I love that question of like, what does Monday morning look like for you in retirement? That's a great question. Makes you really think. But then I'm curious on like, what does that relationship look like after you get to that point, right? So you've got the client, they signed up. It's like 2 years later. Or is there a way that can be built in that y'all have found successful, or maybe that you hope to get to, maybe you're not there yet, of being able to continue to have the conversation be about that purpose, that North Star, as opposed to the investments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let the investments do what they do, but let's keep having these conversations. And is there a way to keep those fresh and valuable to the client, or is it just something that you do at the beginning and then investments are always tied back to that going
Mm-hmm.
forward? How have y'all seen success, or that you dream of it being successful as you continue to build root?
Yeah, I'll talk to more about how I dream about it being successful, because there's a lot that we want to do with that. And I don't know if I would say the industry is going this way, but the way that we're going is how do we address that? If it's one thing to go through your Purpose Finder workbook and say, this is what I want to do, but it's another thing to actually do it because it's difficult and it's hard. I think that, none of these are in specific order, but the things I have a vision of doing is how do we have kind of like a retirement life coach either on staff or doing regular webinars or doing regular client events that we can work with? How do we have like so often I think some clients just need inspiration from others. Hey, I retired, I have so much money, but what do I do? I'm bored. Well, how do we create this community? And that ties into even our YouTube channels or podcasts of there's enough people that are similar minded in terms of the values of what they want to be able to do. How do we bring those people together of, hey, this person's doing amazing things with the types of trips and the travel that they're taking. They have such unique perspectives that they can share with others. Or this person's doing amazing things with medical missions. And if there's other people that want to join into it, kind of creates this ecosystem of people that can join in on that. Or, hey, this person, I don't know, found that simple things, sleep better, eat better, this better. It's really about, to me, the sign of a good financial plan, excuse me, is a life well lived. I don't care how much money you have. If you aren't living well, the financial plan's kind of, I don't want to say irrelevant, but maybe underwhelming. What did it really truly support if life wasn't all that it could have been? So how do we help people live better, which I know goes so far outside of the realm of what traditional financial planning has been. And that's why I think a lot of this, we're just experimenting and trying different things and getting feedback from clients and people who listen to the podcast and YouTube channel of how can we continue to build this into something where, yeah, we're going to do a really good job with your investments and your tax planning and your estate planning and all that stuff. But if you're not happy, if you're not fulfilled, if you're not pursuing what means most to you, all of that really doesn't matter to the extent that you think it does. And I see this all the time with some clients of, it's so much easier for the person that's got more than enough money to say, hey, James, let's run one more tax analysis. Let's run one more retirement projection. Let's update the plan. What if I work one more year so I get my next big bonus and next big stock vesting? And I'll sometimes have to say to them, I'll say, hey, look, like we can do that. But sometimes this becomes a form of procrastination because what you're really saying is you don't want to deal with the bigger questions of that. Who am I when I'm no longer an attorney or a doctor or a boss or whatever the case might be? And so even just having that trusted position in our client's life to be able to bring that back up of, Matt, we can run one more projection, but I can tell you right now, you're going to be fine. What my bigger concern is how do we make sure that you're not just financially okay, but you're going to be totally fulfilled during retirement? Let's start focusing on that. So it's just a redirect, even sometimes, is the biggest value.
I love that. And I love the concept that you bring up about community. That's something that we've been thinking through a lot as well is you've got such a big base of clients that they all have experiences that if they bring it together, they can make them each other better. And you can make your own Reddit channel or TripAdvisor channel that's giving and rating different trips and has different itineraries. There's so much opportunity there. I think that that's a really great concept. And the other idea that you're talking about is like the advisor or the client that's always looking to run a financial plan or whatever and delaying it. It's like there ultimately is an opportunity cost, right? It's called a utilization value in the sense of you could, if you wait to retire for 3 more years, you will have more money because you'll save more, right? That makes more sense. But there's a utilization situation. Like with that more money, the 3 years that you that you waste from retirement, you could be doing a lot more with and have experiential dividends and everything of that nature. Whereas, is it worth having that extra couple $1,000s a month or a couple $100s a month when you're 90 years old, right? So I think that
Right.
that's such a really good concept that you allude to there. Um, I'm curious on one side of this, and then I want to dive into 2 other avenues. I want to dive into building trust. It's something that I've been really exploring and talking with advisors about as well. And then I want to dive into the future of the industry. But before we do, I'm curious on um, how do clients perceive this value, or how do you help them see the value of what you're doing beyond just the investment portfolio? Have you been able to identify or find a way to transition their focus away from how the portfolio performance is doing and more into the intangible value that you're providing of helping them live a good life, as you mentioned,
Mhm.
and a life well lived? Have you been able to find that, or what are some of the challenges that you've seen with getting to that point to allow for them to see the value beyond the performance? Because I think that human nature is just they see their portfolio go down, that becomes a center focal point, even though we've talked about time and time again, your why is X, and they're like, well, my portfolio is down, and that's how they're judging the value of what y'all are doing day in and day out.
Yeah, I think that a big part of it is probably just if someone's coming to us looking just for performance, that's all they care about. It doesn't matter how long the pitch I give them on what they should be concerned about more is living well. For the most part, they're still probably just concerned with portfolio performance. It's that a man convinced against his will still have the same opinion. Like it's not trying to change the minds of people that are coming to us. It's more how do we attract the type of people where this message resonates with them. So it's less convincing. It's less let me twist your arm. It's just hey, this is who we are. This is our mission. And if this is what resonates with you, and your current advisor's not talking about this, or maybe you've been doing this on your own, or maybe your current advisor is talking about this, but they're maybe not as skilled. Because I don't think we can just say, hey, performance doesn't matter, investments don't matter. Those things are hugely important, but only in the context of understanding what they're designed to do for you. So I think that if you attract the right type of person, then you don't have to worry about how do you convince them that what you're doing is valuable. They're already convinced. They're self-selecting to say, this is the type of firm that I want to work with. And it makes the work a lot easier.
Yeah, I think it's a really fair statement. It goes back to your point about digital marketing, right? You attract the right people in, they understand it. If they are attracted to you, they understand what the value of what you're providing is. I want to transition to this concept of how enhancing relationships and deepening relationships with clients, and y'all are going deeper than most because you're going into kind of their why. I'm curious from your perspective what you have seen to be really a key driver to building trust. Now, why I ask this question is this is something that I've talked with a lot of advisors about. I've written a lot about is that I think that advisors think that they earn trust from clients in one way, and clients perceive how they trust advisors in a different way. And I talk about it with like the 4 C's with consistency, competence, etc., of delivering and driving trust. I'm curious of what you have found to be a key driver to build and enhance relationships mainly focused around trust. Like what do you believe that y'all are doing inside of Root that is so key to building the trust with clients? Is it that you're talking to them every week, that what you're talking to them about, that they understand what it is that you do so deeply because you're able to communicate that really well? What drives the deep trust that your clients have with y'all inside of your firm?
I hate to keep going back to this, but I think it's what we're doing before they even become clients. Of there's really nothing that we hide. We'll do videos. Here's exactly how we do tax planning. Here's exactly how we'd approach a financial plan. Here's exactly like it's just how much why does everyone, I don't know, trust that Michael Kitces is the best planner in the world? Well, because he just puts it all out there. Like you don't need to trust him. It's proven through what he's published, through what he's done. So it's kind of the same concept of it's we're not trying to convince you to trust us as much as here's exactly what we do. Here's our processes on our website. Our fees are on our website. We have videos of who would be a good fit to work with us, who wouldn't be a good fit here. So we've made it so abundantly clear of what you're going to get across the board, what the value is, when you shouldn't hire us, how we all those things. So by the time someone gets to us, they're saying, wow, you've already answered all the questions I had and even answered some questions I didn't know I have. If I'm going to trust anyone, it's going to be this firm that's just putting everything out there. And then on top of that, it's not just, okay, I saw a video, I listened to a podcast, I read a blog, whatever. It's here's our process. Here's exactly what you can expect from us. It shows that there's been thought put into the actual experience that you're going to have. It's not just, hey, Matt, I listened to some podcasts and you seem really smart, but I have no idea what you're actually going to do for me. It's no, we have our Sequoia system is what we call it, where here's what your first meeting is. Here's what your second meeting is. Here's what your third meeting is. And then trust is just simply delivering upon those expectations that we help to set for them. And if we can do that consistently across the board, then there's a high degree of trust coming in to Root as a new client. And that trust just continues to be built as we deliver upon the promises that we're making during that onboarding phase.
As I hear you talk, I think that there's something that's really valuable and twofold is the consistency, right? Like having the same answer isn't a bad thing. Having the same answer shows a consistency of focus of what you and your firm are doing. And I think that that's something that many firms can learn from. But the second thing that I think a lot of firms can learn from, and maybe this can lead into a question, is y'all are transparent. You're very transparent on your podcast, on your website. This is the process you're going to go through. Any advisor, if you want to go, you can go see the exact process that Root goes through. You can go look on their website. They're very transparent. It's all out there, the process that they go through, and you can go replicate it if you want. But the challenge is that you have to follow through with it consistently. And I think that that's what you're saying is that clients understand, and there's this consistent connection between what's being marketed to what is being delivered. And so many times we always market what we want to do, but then when they come in, we do what we just do, and there's a gap in that tie. And so I think that there is something to be said both about the transition there, but I think that there's something huge to be about transparency. And I'm just curious from your standpoint, the transparency. I think that firms sometimes keep things close to the chest, right? I think that they keep like their process close to the chest, and y'all haven't done that. Do you believe? Do you believe that that we as an industry need to be more transparent? Have you been able to find other advisors in a community like XY, which I think does a phenomenal job of it, of openness and transparency like you all are providing? And do y'all ever fear what many advisors tended to fear 10 years ago of, well, if I put all this stuff out there, someone's going to do it and take all my clients?
No, I don't fear that. Because it's the same thing with anything. Of advisors are busy; they got their own stuff going on. Most of them, as you can see, it's our industry is so painfully behind when it comes to marketing, especially digital marketing and how we do things. That whether it's for compliance reasons or inertia, or hey, I'm going to be retiring in a couple of years. Why would I start this? Just by the time it gets up and running, I'm going to be out of business. I don't know what the reason is, but I would be fearful of like, hey, if something came out of, hey, here's a new thing that's happening and everyone was on it the next day, sure, then you're maybe losing a competitive edge, but just that doesn't seem to be the reality. Should people be more transparent? Yeah, probably. But to me, I'm totally honest. We're transparent for selfish reasons, which is
Mm.
if I'm talking to a prospect, I don't want to waste my time or their time of, oh, you thought we were an hourly firm. Well, I'm sorry, we just wasted 30 minutes of each other's time. No, that's not how we do things. Or, oh, you thought that we worked with this type of client. No, I'm sorry. It just, let's be respectful of our time and prospects' time. Really, that just came from, it has all these prospects are coming in. It's a wonderful thing. But how we start to see, okay, they're expecting this, but we're doing this. How can we be more clear on the front end about exactly what we do, how we charge, all those things, which is good for them and good for us. So yeah, people should be more transparent, but also even just not for purely altruistic reasons. It's a net benefit to everyone involved, I would say.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you mentioned something there of saying our industry's behind from like a digital marketing standpoint and everything of that nature, which then leads me to kind of my final group of questions is, you know, I- what do you see as the future of our industry, right? Where is our industry going? You've been a part of it for a good bit of time. You guys are leading, you and your team are leading the charge, I think, in the way that you approach the planning process. You all are unique in leading that way over let's call it 10 years, right? 10 years. Where do you see this industry going? Or do you see it just staying the same, which is a very fair answer, right? Hey, there's no inertia, there's no urgency, so it's just going to stay the same. But where do you see this industry in your mind going over the next 10 years?
I have no idea. I won't claim to be like a futurist, and I always say there's thought leaders and there's thought repeaters. Like I could repeat thoughts I've heard other people say, but none of it is my own original stuff. I'm more concerned about, can we always be delivering better and better services for our clients? Which to me, what that means is, can we expand the services offered? Does that mean becoming more like a full one-stop shop for everything from investments to tax, not just tax planning, but even tax prep to estate stuff to your insurance needs, whatever that means? Like, I think we would like to move more in that direction of not having to be one of many professionals, but to the extent that we can be exceptional at all of it, how can we continue to add on services without diluting anything that we're doing? And to us also, how do we continue to go beyond finances? I think that's been a huge benefit to our clients. And one of the main reasons a lot of people reach out to us is that, not that we're holding ourselves out, like I said before, to be life coaches, but just the fact that we're talking about it, that we view money differently, that we view money as a tool, not as the star of the show. And I think there's a lot of how do we just help people live better? And as I mentioned before, I think that's client events, whether they're webinars or community type things, or bringing in just incredible people from other industries to say, how can we leverage, you use examples I used before, what this person knows about better sleeping, time management, healthier eating, relationship, like whatever it is. I'm just throwing stuff out there, but like, how do we bring that to you so that when we're designing these financial strategies, it's designed to help you live a more fulfilling life? And so to me, it's expanding the financial side of what we do to try to be an all-in-one shop for the actual nuts and bolts of things that have to happen, but also going beyond money in a way that helps people live better, not just get wealthier.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, I know that you're not a futurist necessarily, but I want to ask you this one last futuristic question of what's in the world today and where y'all are going. Of what all the developments that are there, either from tools and technology to processes, etc. What are you most excited about in regards to whether it's what your team can use to become efficient and deliver kind of more services, or the value that you'll be able to provide to your clients because of the advancements of X, Y, and Z? What are you most excited about right now with regards to your firm, the industry, whatever it may be?
What I'm most it's probably gonna be a letdown to what maybe you are alluding to, but it has nothing to do with technology and everything to do with people. I remember when I first started Root, I wasn't really expecting to start the company. Things didn't work out in my last firm, so it was kind of like an abrupt ending and an abrupt start of the company. And I was asking myself, do I want to do this solo and be kind of the hyper efficient, hyper profitable solo practitioner and go that route? Or do I want to build a team and go that route? And I took a whole day, went down to a beach campsite here nearby us and just journaled pros and cons. Who do I want to be in the future? What do I like? What do I dislike? And I walked away from that saying, yeah, I think before I was thinking, I just want to do this by myself. I don't know if I'm a great manager. I don't want to have to worry about what other people are doing. I just want to be able to control this. But I remember walking away from that saying, no, I actually think that I would enjoy the team aspect more. And I can say full confidence right now and 100% sincerely, the most exciting thing to me right now is the team that we have and the type of people that I get to work with on a daily basis to deliver these solutions. There's so much great technology and hopefully that just continues to accelerate. But at the end of the day, it still is a very relationship-based business. And to me, our number one goal right now is we have great prospects coming in, which is amazing. It's more of what's our human capital strategy? What are we doing on the personal side to be able to attract the right person, just the smartest, the most driven, the most compassionate, the most enjoyable, the most fun people to be part of this team? Because if you can not just only attract great prospective clients, but also now attract the best talent in the industry by creating career paths, by compensating well, by providing kind of a mission-driven business, by allowing people to have direct impact on the clients that they're serving, that's really exciting. And I think that we're starting to be able to do that. And the team that we have is just so talented in terms of just people running with initiatives that I couldn't in a million years dream of being able to do. And people and that true synergistic type approach of what's being built is so exciting. Yeah, there's cool tools and technology involved with it, but it's more than that. It's just a great group of people that I thoroughly enjoy working with. I'm excited for the future of what we can all do.
I love that answer. And I wasn't actually looking for technology. I think that that's a really good answer. I think technology would have been the easy answer. That was actually a very kind of thoughtful and deep answer. Well, James, this has been a really fun conversation. I really, I wanted to bring light to a different way of doing business within the RIA space. And you helped to do that here in this conversation. So I'm super appreciative for you to doing that and being vulnerable and transparent on that. But before I let you go, I have to ask my two questions that I ask all guests before I leave, because the first one is I'm a constant learner. I thirst for curiosity. I like to learn from people that are a lot smarter than me, and one way I like to do that is read. And so I'm always curious of kind of what is one of those books out there that you think everybody should read if they haven't, or if they have read it, what was that book that they should reread in your mind?
Yeah, my at least in this context, favorite book is called Living Forward by Michael Hyatt. And the premise of the book is how do we live more intentionally? And you start by kind of going through an exercise of imagine you're at your funeral. You've had a long, healthy life. You're 95 years old. You're at your funeral. Who's getting up to talk about you, and what do you hope they'd say? And by the way, this is God. This is your spouse. This is your kids. This is your teammates. This is your friends. This is your neighbors, like whoever. Just what would you hope that they would say about you? And so, okay, you write out what you would hope they'd say about you, and then working backwards to say, okay, what do you need to start doing today to make these people say something like that about you? Is like it in a nutshell. So how do you envision the future that you've had a life well lived and you're looking back on it? What do people say? Now, how do I live into that? What are the things I can do with my spouse, with my daughter, with my team, with my friends? And then you break it down into like daily or weekly things. And it goes back to our process here of, yeah, the money plays a role, but only in the context of what are we going for? What are we trying to create here? How are we living an intentional life, which our financial plan, again, I don't believe you can have a good financial plan without a corresponding life plan of how you want to be living in a manner that is fulfilling and enjoyable to you. So Living Forward has been a very impactful book that's helped me with that.
I love that. I love that. It's kind of like it goes to that idea of write your obituary and then live up to make sure that comes to reality. I think that's
Yeah.
that's a really powerful thought process for anybody to stay present and stay focused on what they want to do. The final question I like to ask is, we talked about a lot of stuff here, and I always like to leave our listeners with something actionable they can take away. And so I'm curious from the conversation that we had, or maybe something that we didn't touch on, but what's one thing that's actionable that you think or you hope our listeners take away that they can either implement today or tomorrow and better themselves, better their firm, better their client experience, whatever it may be? What's that one actionable piece of advice that you want to give to our listeners today?
Just so much depends upon whether it's a marketing thing, a process thing, a business thing. The most effective thing, one of the most effective things I alluded to was just understanding what I wanted to become or what I wanted the business to become. So going back to that exercise I did before starting of, do I want to grow a team? Do I want to do this solo? Just understanding the end goal, the North Star, so to speak, then drives all the actions you want to take. So I think that so many of us advisors, even just people in general, we just get caught up in the day-to-day of what am I doing? Well, I'm doing this because it's just always been done this way. Or I'm doing this because I listened to a podcast and I should do it. Or I'm doing this because the other advisor has talked. Well, what are you trying to build? And this could be a business, this could be a life, this could be anything. And just starting with that, oftentimes life and business isn't that complicated. It's difficult, but it's not that complicated. So taking some time aside and understanding what is it that I'm trying to build, which I know is, again, a generic, maybe non-answer, but just setting aside some time to say, what direction am I headed in? And are the actions I'm taking aligning with that?
And it's given the time of year, I think that's a great piece of advice for anybody and everybody. So I think that's spot on, man. I think that's really good. James Conole, man, I am super appreciative of you spending time here with us. And I know that there's going to be other people that want to follow you, learn from you, maybe even become a client of yours. As an advisor, becoming a client of yours, that'd be interesting. But anyhow, they may still want to be a client. What's the best way for them to continue to stay in touch with you and follow you and continue to learn from your journey?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, James Conole. YouTube, the channel name is also James Conole, Conole. I think the handle is, it's Root FP. So those are the two places that I need to get more active. I'd like to be more active on in the future, but that's the best place to find me other than the website, which is rootfinancialpartners.com.
Love it, man. Thank you so much. I'm super appreciative of you spending some time with us here on Bridging the Gap. It was an awesome conversation. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me.